Prime Minister Mark Carney is in France as he begins his first foreign trip since being sworn in.
And CTV's Colton Praill joined us live from Ottawa this morning with more on this. Colton, what is on the PM's agenda for these meetings with European leaders?
Yeah, Nick, he started off today at Notre Dame, then held a bilateral meeting with Emmanuel Macron. In between those two, they did speak to media and they brought up a couple of key points. The first was the rather unique relationship that Canada and France have. If you think back to Mark Carney's swearing-in press conference, the first thing we heard from him as Prime Minister, he talked about three key foundational parts of Canada: the British, the French, and the Indigenous peoples. And this trip really picks up on those three aspects because he's meeting with the French. Later tonight, he's meeting with the British, and he's wrapping up the trip in Iqaluit on Tuesday. Now, the highlight of this conversation with Macron, what we've seen so far from his conversations with Macron, was twofold. One, the need for stronger relationships with the EU and certainly with France, but also the belief that free trade is much more impactful for building economies than tariffs. Both Mark Carney said it and Macron said it. The two sides were in lockstep on this issue. They opened up talks for potentially improving trade in a number of sectors like AI, renewable and green technologies, energy, specifically with regards to nuclear. And we also heard talk about the new high-speed rail line that Canada is planning to build along that eastern corridor. Of course, France would have a large part to play in that. So those are some of the areas where cooperation could continue to grow and that we're focused on in this press conference. As I mentioned, later on this evening, he heads to the UK. Keir Starmer will meet with him, the Prime Minister. He'll also meet with King Charles. In the background of all of this as well, sovereignty and Ukraine are both big aspects of these discussions. Of course, Keir Starmer held a call on Sunday with a number of world leaders. Macron and Mark Carney were both a part of that call where they continued to talk about that coalition of the willing, as they've been calling it, to ensure that there's security and stability for Ukraine. The message in this trip really is that not only does Canada want to increase our trade with our allies, but the partnerships and the friendships that existed there before continue to exist under a new government and have room to grow if they want to do so.
Yeah, and on that point, Colton, we know this is also about trying to form alliances, right, around what was Canada's closest ally. So how much can Carney really accomplish, especially given there's rumors that we could see an election called as soon as this week?
Yeah, Courtney, the big thing that if he really wanted to see distinct movement, there are two things that he could try to make progress on, and both of them are regards to free trade deals. Canada has CETA, the free trade deal with the EU, but 10 countries, including France, haven't ratified that deal. Until it's ratified, it remains relatively static. It's not able to be updated from its 2017 inception to a more modern economy that focuses on things like critical materials, on nuclear energy, on AI. And so if you can get progress on that front, that would be a big step forward. It's unlikely to happen this trip, but if you can open that door, that's a way you could move forward with increased economic cooperation with France. The same thing goes for the UK. When they left the EU, they left that free trade deal. A continuity agreement was struck, but a true free trade agreement between Canada and the UK specific to our two markets hasn't been brought forward. There were talks. They froze about a year ago. Dairy was a big sticking issue, especially when it comes to UK cheeses coming into Canada. Again, if you can restart talks there, it opens up the opportunity for better flow of free trade between the two countries. Those are big ticket items that are unlikely to be solved, but if you can start to progress talks, if you can restart those conversations in a trip like this, it would certainly add a lot more action to the words we're hearing when it comes to bettering those partnerships.
Okay, that is CTV's Colton Praill joining us live from Ottawa. Colton, appreciate this. Thank you.